Hello everyone, this is Clare&Colan, V for Vege. Today we are talking about one of the most exciting activities that you can carry out in your garden and in your home, and that is seed sowing. We're going to sow some carrots and some radish in this video with a technique that we call intercropping. But before we do that, we need to talk about the principles. The principles that some might find boring, but that are entirely necessary for seed sowing success. There are three elements for seed sowing success, and they are light, warmth, and moisture. However, those of you who listen to our podcast would know there are always exceptions to any rule, but in this instance, warmth, light, and moisture are the three elements that are most especially needed for seed sowing success. Now, if Claire comes a little bit closer now, we're just going to show you these drills that we have created. Now, a drill is just simply a depression in the soil in which we are going to sow our seed. And I will show you now with my trusty bamboo stick, which of course is at the right length, what to do. Now I just pop the bamboo stake down where I'm wanting to create the line or the drill, and I wiggle it around like so. And now, as you can see, I've created a depression. One of the most important factors about drill making, and I bet many of you never thought you would say this yourself, I'm making a drill, is that it needs to be even along the base. You don't want to bury your seed. A general rule of thumb is to cover the seed until you just can't see it, or until you've covered it with half the depth of the seed. But if you're like me, you will have trouble thinking about what is the depth of a seed. So generally, it's just best to watch as you're sprinkling the soil over the top, and you'll see us do it today until you just can't see the seed. Now, let's move on to the exciting part. We have our selection that we're sowing today. We have carrot all year round, carrot chantenay red cord, radish salad crunch, and perhaps the most exciting member of this group of four, radish Easter egg mixed. Now we are going to intercrop these, which is just a technical term for cropping certain vegetables that are slow growing and certain vegetables that are fast growing. If you intercrop, you make the best use of the available space that you have. And if, like us, you have raised beds with a good depth of soil, this is a fantastic technique to use. Now let's get sowing. The first one we're planting is carrot chantenay red cord. Now we're using a particular brand of seed today, but generally any commercially available brand of seed is absolutely fine. These carrots can actually be cropped all the year round, but if you're unsure, all commercial seed firms will have the details on the back of the packet. Now if Claire focuses here, I'll just tip the seed out. Now, my first idea is that people ought not to be frightened. These seeds want to grow. So as long as you are sowing quite thinly, all will be well. And here we go. I would just tend to sprinkle fairly sparingly along the drill. Oh, you might need just a little more. There we are. Okay, so you can see that's our chantenay red cord done, and I shall attempt to pop the rest into the packet there. There we go, I'll pop those in, and I'll just pop some of the others down. Now, carrots actually, to produce long tapered roots, such as the ones you actually see in the supermarket, need to be spaced at particular intervals. When you are thinning, and that just means taking out the excess plants, so you give each plant a particular distance. When you are thinning, you can actually use these thinnings to flavour your dishes. Sometimes, in the absence of an actual carrot, the leafy tops will impart the flavour that you would have expected from a carrot. So when you are thinning your seedlings, and we'll cover this in a future video, just bear in mind that they don't need to be thrown away. They can be washed and they can be used, as I say, to impart the flavour of carrot. Now, if Claire just comes a little bit closer now, I will show you what I do to cover. What I tend to do is just to take a little bit of soil and I just really lightly sprinkle over the top, really lightly over the top there. And now you'll notice this soil is quite coarse, but that won't be a problem because we're not burying the seed. There we are. So that is our first drill done. Now we are intercropping, and so we've decided that our intercrop row, that is the fast growing crop, will be radish. And in this case it's radish Easter egg. And here they are. Beautiful multicoloured radishes. So we shall take these out. Some of you might remember growing radishes when you were in kindergarten, and you can grow these as microgreens as well. We'll cover that in a future video. But for this video, we are sowing traditionally in the ground. And again, we're just going to deepen the drill a little bit because, as you can see, the radish seed is much bigger than the carrot seed. In fact, there is about 4 times the size of a carrot seed. So we're just going to deepen the drill. There we go. And we do the same, but it's much easier with the radish to sow at appropriate intervals. For radish, it's around about 3 to 5 centimetres, because you can actually pick radish before it's reached maturity. Right, simple. And now I just will pop what I can back in. Just put those few there. Wonderful. And the same sort of technique, I just cover very lightly with soil. Now, the cause of most seed not to germinate once you've actually sown them is, yes, if you've sown too deeply, but secondly, if you inundate with moisture. And I know some of you will be saying to me, but it's outside and it's raining. Yes, sometimes that is a factor, but for the most part, it's actually over moistening, not only after you've sown, but before they germinate. So if possible, it's best, unless it's really hot, not to water again until you start seeing the seeds germinating. Now, to this end, we actually have some material that's sold here in Australia as frost material. And I don't know whether you can get a close-up of that, Claire. It's just a really dense fibre. Now, we just happen to have this on hand, but if you have some shade cloth or something similar, that's perfectly fine too. What we are going to do is cut this to size, and then we're going to lay it over what we've sown. Now, this will help protect it not only from drying out, but it will actually keep the soil slightly warmer, and that should mean speedier germination. And that's all for the moment, because there's always more to do in our vegetable garden. Thank you for tuning in. This was the seed sowing component of Clare&Colan V for Vege.